Okay, now that we go through training camp, now that we are finally getting some real news, of course, we are going to have to look back on our Dynasty rankings. We are going to have to look at these rankings that we've thought all offseason about. And there will be some risers, there will be some fallers. I'm going to be happy to talk about the running backs that I am personally moving up my Dynasty rankings, at least over the past few weeks. Now, of course, before we get into it, if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football, only if you play Dynasty, make sure you go down there, subscribe to the channel, drop a like if y'all are wanting to see more Dynasty videos, and leave a comment letting me know a running back that you think should be moving up my Dynasty rankings. But let's go ahead and let's dive into our first player here who has had some positive camp reports, Rhamondre Stevenson. Now, not only is Rhamondre Stevenson getting some buzz out of camp, but one of the big reasons why I am personally looking to move Rhamondre Stevenson up my rankings is if we go ahead and if we look at the timetable that we may have from James White, it looks like White may not necessarily be back with the Patriots at the beginning of this season. It looks like White's not going to be back from that injury. And how surprising would it be, really, if the New England Patriots just simply never look to return to James White? This is a running back that is now 30 years old. This is a running back that, historically speaking, has just gone out there and soaked up a ton of the valuable touches in New England. We know that it's extremely difficult for you to ever really have access to an elite level ceiling if there's going to be that primary pass catching running back in your backfield taking almost every single snap on third down. I mean, we were seeing the issue over there in Washington whenever you're getting J.D. McKissic coming back. Maybe you're not necessarily very excited about J.D. McKissic in fantasy, but you can't ignore it because it has a massive impact for the overall ceiling, the best case scenario that you would have for someone like Antonio Gibson. So if we were to just see James White be removed from this situation entirely, it does clear this up a lot for us with the New England Patriots. Now, yes, I understand New England went a little heavy in the NFL draft at the running back position. That's 100% something that we need to look at, we need to talk about, because usually if you see that team go out there and say, we need to backfill our depth, we need to not only draft one running back on day 3. Remember, Rhamondre Stevenson was a day 3 pick. It's not necessarily like Rhamondre Stevenson has a ton of team investment, but they drafted 2 running backs on day 3, which that should at least pop up a single red flag for you. However, I am not going to be too concerned with this. And the reason for this is because if we go ahead and we look at the running back situation, if they did not draft anybody, because when we look at this depth chart, maybe on the surface a couple months ago, it was crowded with the combination of Damian Harris, Rhamondre Stevenson, as well as James White. We already just got done talking about the fact that James White may be a complete non-factor with his injury lingering into 2022. And on top of this, if we go ahead and look at Damian Harris, we have to remember Damian Harris was drafted back in 2019. The other running backs that were in that draft class, Devin Singletary, Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery, Miles Sanders, these are running backs that are not under contract this upcoming season. So if we just take a step back and you put yourself in the shoes of Bill Belichick, you put yourself in the shoes of anybody in that New England Patriots organization, we know that front office isn't a massive fan of going out of their way and paying their running backs for a second deal after their rookie contract. It makes a lot of sense that you needed to backfill that depth. They needed to go out there, draft someone like Pierre Strong. They needed to double down on the running back position on day 3. They were picks that really don't mean anything that much. And Rhamondre Stevenson was the only running back still under contract for this New England Patriots offense next year. So those rookies that they brought in, I am going to expect that this upcoming season, they play a very similar role to what Damian Harris did in 2019. If y'all remember what Damian Harris did in 2019, this is a running back that just wasn't involved at all as a rookie. Obviously, you know Damian Harris now as the starting running back for the New England Patriots, but we've seen that this team isn't really looking to get involved with going out of their way and firing up some rookie running backs and actually giving them snaps. So I don't think we have to worry about those depth running backs really having any role this upcoming season. That should get you excited about Rhamondre Stevenson, is really the only running back there that can catch passes with the injury of James White. So this upcoming year, Rhamondre Stevenson looks to be in a role where he should be a player that gets enough touches on a week-to-week basis to at least be viable. If you're dealing with a ton of bye weeks, if you're dealing with some injuries to the running back position, you should be able to go ahead and throw Rhamondre Stevenson into your starting lineup. And on top of this, I think Rhamondre Stevenson does have upside to access a ceiling that Damien Harris himself does not even have, because Rhamondre Stevenson is a capable pass catcher. I mean, if we go ahead and if we look at some of the weeks that you had from Damien Harris, the pass catching running back so far through his NFL career, he doesn't have access to any type of receiving ceiling. This is a running back that's had 10 games with 0 receptions, 12 games with 1 reception, and only 5 total games with 2 or more receptions at the running back position. Damien Harris can't catch passes. And if we go ahead and look at Rhamondre Stevenson, it's a little bit of a different story. Now, I don't want to come out here and sell Rhamondre Stevenson as if he is J.D. McKissick. I don't want to make it seem like he's Aaron Jones, Christian McCaffrey, but this is a running back that was able to average 1.5 targets per game in an offense where Damien Harris was the starter last year. And if Harris were to miss time and James White is out as well, Rhamondre Stevenson may turn into a 3-down running back on his rookie contract for the New England Patriots. I think based on their decision to draft 2 running backs on day 3 in this year's NFL draft, they're probably not going to look to bring back Damien Harris next year. So Rhamondre Stevenson projects to be the starting running back in the NFL's most run-heavy offense. If we go back to 2021 and we look at rush to pass ratio in game neutral environments, here the New England Patriots were number 1 in the NFL in that category at 51% of their plays being rushing attempts. It's exciting for Rhamondre. I think you can go ahead and move Rhamondre Stevenson up your dynasty rankings. If we look at where he's being drafted in 2021, he's currently being drafted as the running back 38, directly behind Chase Edmonds, James Cook, Rashad Penny. I would be fine drafting him in 2021 redraft leagues as well over there on Underdog Fantasy. And if somehow, some way, you are not drafting on Underdog Fantasy, fix your life. You know, we're live streaming drafts on Underdog Fantasy every single day because I've been having so much fun in their drafts. And when you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. You'll get our 2022 rankings. You'll get our Dynasty rankings. You'll get our Dynasty rookie rankings. You'll get our Dynasty rookie draft guide that's well over 130 pages. So please make sure you take advantage of that. Make sure you go down to the link in the description, support this show. And now let's move over to a running back that's on the opposite end of the spectrum here. Let's go to a running back that you are going to have to pay a pretty penny for. Let's go over to Saquon Barkley. Now with Saquon Barkley, if you pull up our dynasty rankings, it's embarrassing where we had him previously. Like, let me pull this up just to fill you in. But we used to have Saquon Barkley behind someone like Nick Chubb. We used to have Saquon Barkley behind Cam Akers, behind J.K. Dobbins, despite Saquon Barkley clearly being the most talented running back out of that group, despite Saquon Barkley at the same time being very young. This is a running back that was drafted in 2018. This is a running back that only stayed 3 years at Penn State. So it's not like you're looking at Barkley and saying, yeah, we know he's going to be elite this season, but he is an old guy. He's only going to go down in dynasty value from here. He's not Derrick Henry. The man's not 28 years old. So we've moved Saquon Barkley back to being a top 10 running back in our dynasty rankings. And if I go ahead and pull up our 2022 draft guide, I think you can get very excited to just see the overall ceiling case for Saquon Barkley, a running back that back in 2019 averaged 72% of his team's carries on a per game basis and had almost a 20% team target share. You know how many running backs have done that? Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. In recent memory, those are the only 2 players to manage that. And with Saquon Barkley, yes, this is someone that we have to worry about injuries with. But if we go ahead and if we look at our rankings with Saquon Barkley versus Christian McCaffrey, I had Christian McCaffrey, and I still do, as our running back 6 in our dynasty rankings. So how hypocritical would it be for me to go out and say, Yeah, we can still draft Christian McCaffrey as our running back 6 in our rankings. Yes, he's an injury risk, but the ceiling is so damn high that it makes sense to just go there and take a swing for the fences regardless. And then at the same time, not have Saquon Barkley ranked as a top 10 player. He also has an elite level ceiling. He also has injury risk associated with him. But if Saquon Barkley were to come out and finish as a top 3 running back this year, A, would you be surprised? No, I don't think anybody watching this video would be surprised if that happens. And B, would Saquon Barkley's value go up? Because if Derrick Henry comes out and he's the running back 3 this year, I'm sorry to say it, but Derrick Henry is not increasing in dynasty value. You can't do it when you're going to be 29 next offseason at the running back position. But Saquon Barkley could have room for his dynasty value to continue to increase. He can go ahead of Joe Mixon. He can go ahead of Austin Eckler. He can go ahead of Christian McCaffrey. So based on the potential for his value to continue to go up, the potential for elite level production this upcoming season, I think I was previously too low on Saquon Barkley. And also it's nice reading reports out of training camp saying, oh, he's lining up all over the field. This coaching staff's going to use his elite receiving skill set, which is the number one thing that he brings to the table and the number one valuable thing about Saquon Barkley. But now let's go over to a running back that I did not like as a rookie. I talked down on him through the rookie draft process. I still don't necessarily have him ranked that highly. I told a lot of people to not draft James Cook in round 1 of their 12-team Superflex drafts. I still don't have James Cook ranked as a round 1 player. I have him where we did right after the NFL draft. I still have James Cook as our 13th rookie off the board. But now I've had to move him up our overall running back dynasty rankings. And the reason for this is the long-term outlook on James Cook, as well as the fact that I love Cook for this upcoming season. I mean, this is another thing that was very hypocritical for me. While yes, I still want Pickens over him. I still want Jahan Dotson over him. I still want Sky Moore. I still want Christian Watson. I believe that those wide receivers have a talent profile that we want to be betting on for the long term in Dynasty. Now, of course, in a redraft format, I'm going to prefer James Cook just based on how running back production is skewed. But still, this is a running back in James Cook that I've recently had to decide to move him over someone like Tony Pollard, move him up in the same tier of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Miles Sanders, directly before those players. Because if we go ahead and look at this situation, it could not be better for Cook. Because at the very minimum, very minimum, he is the passing down running back for the Buffalo Bills. And we need to ask ourselves, how valuable is that role? If you were the passing down running back for the most productive passing offense in the NFL, if reports are coming out that you can line out wide, and this offense is losing almost 180 targets with the combination of Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders gone, how valuable is that role by itself? I think at that point, James Cook's a running back 3 in fantasy. His floor almost, assuming that he gets that role. But are we drafting him for his floor? Does he have ceiling for more? And I will say, 100%, you should not expect it. It's not in the median projections for James Cook to come out here and to supplant Devin Singletary to become a 3-down running back in this offense. Because my concern with James Cook this entire time remains the same. This is a running back that's 5'11", 199 pounds. This is a running back that has a BMI of 27.8. The only player that had a BMI that low that was drafted in Dynasty rookie drafts and ended up working out over the past 5 seasons, Kenyon Drake. That's it. Now you can point to Austin Eckler. Yes, Eckler is also a smaller running back in his own right. You're looking at Austin Eckler at 5'9", 299 pounds. So he's less than 200 pounds. But keep in mind, Eckler, he's built. He's a stocky guy. He's 5'9". His BMI is 29.4. It's not under 28. Speaking of BMI for his size, Kenyon Drake's really the only guy that we can be looking at. That's not a great comp. And for that reason, I do not think it's in the range of outcomes for the long term for James Cook to ever be a running back that is able to handle 20 plus carries on a per game basis over a large sample. It's not possible. It will never happen. Don't expect it to happen. However, does that need to be the case in Buffalo for him to access an elite ceiling? I don't necessarily think so, because how many trips to the red zone this offense will have. On top of this, not only the trips to the red zone, but how productive this passing offense in the amount of dropbacks that Josh Allen will have overall, that is going to provide James Cook with touchdown upside and target upside in Buffalo. Now, we add on the fact, like I said, you're getting reports out of camp saying that he can slide over to the slot. That would be fantastic. And on top of this, Devin Singletary is not under contract in 2023. This should be Devin Singletary's last year on this team, considering the fact that he was drafted in 2019. So we are going to have to go ahead. We are going to have to move James Cook up. We're not moving him up our rookie rankings. We're still going to have him at 13. I still think if you can take James Cook and you can trade him for Jahan Dotson plus a pick, we're doing that every day of the week. But if we're looking at our overall running back dynasty rankings, there's no reason to have Tony Pollard over him. There's honestly not even a reason to have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Miles Sanders over him. So we will move James Cook up to our running back 27. Let me see where he is at with keep trade cut. I wonder if we are still behind market or above market on James Cook. So we have him as our running back 27. Okay, so he's the running back 26 on keep trade cut. He's going before James Conner there. Oh, James Conner's a very undervalued if that's going to be the case. Let's go ahead and move over to our last running back, the thumbnail of this video, Travis Etienne. Now with Travis Etienne, this is a player that I have not talked about really at all this offseason, because you know, if you've been watching this long enough, like I haven't made a video on Trey Lance this offseason. I haven't made a video on Travis Etienne this offseason because you're tired of hearing me talk about them. I have spent years now, it seems, just hyping up Trey Lance, hyping up Travis Etienne any chance that I have. With Travis Etienne, DeAndre Swift, you've heard us say it a million times. We started saying this almost 16 months ago at this point. Travis Etienne, DeAndre Swift, they're our generations. They're the new age. Alvin Kamara and Aaron Jones. They're going to get every valuable touch out of their backfield. They're going to get every target. They're going to get every touch in the red zone. I don't care if they split the backfield and give up some carries between the 20s. Those carries between the 20s don't equal fantasy points. It doesn't freaking matter. Just get the high value touches. And here with Travis Etienne, the reason I have not talked about him a ton is, dear God, if you go ahead and you pull up his keep trade cut price point and go scroll over to the all-time value. Before last season started, back when we thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be great, remember what Trevor Lawrence was sold to be as a prospect. When we thought Lawrence was going to be great and Etienne was going to be in a better situation, the Dynasty Fantasy Football community had Travis Etienne, dependent on the time that you're looking at. I'm recording this on July 4th, so let's go ahead and let's look at July 4th. There they had him ranked as the running back 19 in Dynasty. That is why every single day you did not hear me shut up about Travis Etienne. I came out and I talked about him constantly. But despite his situation arguably getting worse, now that Trevor Lawrence puts up one of the worst rookie seasons of all time. Now, I will say, yes, Urban Meyer's gone. Okay. Hopefully Lawrence gets better. He probably will, but he's probably not going to be great as advertised beforehand. Travis Etienne's price point has skyrocketed, coming off a significant injury. Now you're paying the running back 9 price for Travis Etienne in Dynasty. This is why I am not spending every single second of my day trying to convince you to go out of your way and to trade for Travis Etienne. I've always thought he's a great prospect. Still think that he's a great prospect. I have him ranked as our running back 9 in Dynasty. I used to be way over market on Travis Etienne. I honestly had him ranked below this at the beginning of the offseason. I had him ranked around running back 13 because I thought, hell, it looks like the quarterback situation is going to get a little bit worse than our priors that we had going into last year. Coming off a significant injury, but training camp reports coming out. Etienne's 100% recovered. Etienne's already out there putting in work. So given the fact that he's recovered from his injury, I will be happy to move Etienne back up to the top of this tier as our running back 9. Now, I'm sorry to say it. I am no longer, I guess, above market on Etienne. Everybody's caught on. I can't rank him higher than this. I wish I could go back to what we were saying last season and just talk about how much y'all are sleeping on the man. But people have woken up, so it is what it is. But of course, thank you so much for being a part of the flock, supporting the channel. If you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, letting me know how stupid I am. And also, if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football, subscribe. That's all I got for you. I really do appreciate you. I really hope you have a great day, and hope we get to see you with the video tomorrow.